Picture this. You're headed out for a vacation. You've got a flight to catch in just a few hours. You haven't packed yet, so you open up your weather app on your phone to check the weather for the week, and it doesn't seem to be working. Well, you wing it, you throw some clothes in a suitcase, it's time to get to the airport. So you fire up Uber to catch a ride, and Uber's not connecting to the network. You try Lyft. Lyft's not connecting to the network. Well, with no time to waste, it looks like you're driving yourself to the airport. So you grab your suitcase, you jump in your car, and you fire up GPS to find the quickest route. And that is just giving you the searching circle. Well, after tons of frustration, you manage to make it to the airport, only to walk in and find that all flights are canceled and the airline systems are down. No rebooking, no vacation. The satellites that enable our mobile way of life have been compromised by just a few keystrokes and some malicious code.
Satellites are one of the connective tissues of our modern world, but they are also quite vulnerable. Because of this, the causes and effects of those vulnerabilities can be felt by each and every one of us around the globe. In order to understand how to protect these important satellite systems, we must open our aperture to vulnerability despite our human nature to self-preserve and hide when we feel vulnerable. That was the conclusion that the Hackasat team came to when we took on the task of trying to figure out how to prevent a satellite hack from threatening the security and prosperity of both our nation and globe. We didn't have straightforward answers, but we did have a crazy idea of where to go to start finding them.
There is one place where innovation is at the forefront of security, and the weaknesses of technology are constantly being challenged, and that is at DEF CON. DEF CON is a community-driven environment where over 30,000 of the world's most inventive and creative hackers, reverse engineers, security researchers, and hobbyists alike come together to hack and break and tinker with all sorts of technologies, find their weaknesses, and improve their security. If you're a hacker, you know all about DEF CON. By enlisting hackers in an open and transparent manner, the Hackasat team set out to build a community centered around access and a common goal, all in the name of space cybersecurity. So we put our plan to the test.
This approach to satellite security was novel, and the task ahead was daunting, because hackers, security researchers, and satellite experts operate in different circles. But unifying these three communities will have something great to offer for each other for the benefit of mankind. It's like inviting the lock pickers to work with the lock makers to inform how to build better locks, thus reducing crime. The approach was risky, but we knew there was a means to the end. On the other hand, we had major organizations and leaders telling us there was absolutely no way that we were letting US governments be touched by hackers. They gave us mountains of reasons why: international trade restrictions, legalities, security clearances, proprietary technology, and the list goes on. But we really needed to normalize the conversation around weakness in order to build resilience in these important satellite systems versus protecting a culture of preservation through secrecy.
To the commercial world, this is not a new concept. Many companies from the automotive industry, medical, biotechnology, voting, Internet of Things, they bring their technologies to DEF CON to let hackers peek under the hood and find their weaknesses. Hackasat was the first time that the Department of the Air Force joined the commercial industry by hosting a satellite hacking competition incentivized by prizes and the novelty of hacking highly inaccessible technology without going to jail. While Department of Defense organizations had attended DEF CON in the past, this new concept of openness in the name of security ran counter to how the department traditionally approaches this topic.
Satellites aren't like other technologies where you can go to a big box store, buy one off the shelf to tinker with. They're exquisite, inaccessible, expensive systems that are hard for the research community to get their hands on. Only an extremely limited number of thoroughly vetted experts with high security clearances have access to evaluate these technologies. So can you imagine trying to give hackers access? Everything we were trying to do with Hackasat ran counter to the foundational principles of national security. But things are changing in the 21st century, and access to space is cheaper than it's ever been. Satellites are smaller, less expensive to build. There's even ride-sharing opportunities to launch your satellite, which makes outer space the next big major commercial investment for many new companies.
With more and more companies having access to space and doing more things in space, who's looking out for the security of these systems and safeguarding our modern society? The proliferation of space makes the globe's way of life vulnerable, not just any one country or community. And if nations and companies are only looking to protect their own interests and bottom lines, they could be the next single point of failure in our collective way of life. Well, the Hackassat team was not willing to let that day happen on our watches. We had to look at this problem from a world view to preserve the way of the world.
Challenging the status quo is risky business. However, it can lead to meaningful rewards. Yet everyone was opposed to it. Supervisors said no.
Lawyers said no.
Satellite operators said no.
Space organizations said no.
Space industry said no.
Other government organizations that we can't name in this forum said absolutely not.
And these weren't soft no's, they were hard, capital letter N-O. But constraints are the precursors to solutions. And culture change doesn't happen overnight. It became a full contact sport. Our team cried together. We laughed, argued, debated, celebrated. Some even quit. But at the end of the day, the mission survivors came out stronger than ever. And Hackassat persevered, bringing the topic of satellite security to dinner parties and newsstands around the globe.
By facilitating the participation of over 10,000 international hackers and millions of spectators across industry, academia, governments, and the press, Hackassat has already returned dividends to the Department of the Air Force and the space community at large. Satellite operators have now witnessed what it looks like when a real satellite hack is happening on your system in the moment. A global community of experts in cybersecurity are now linked up and on teams with experts in astrophysics and aerospace to coalesce around where the information security loopholes in these systems lie. Brilliant people sharing their findings in the name of space cybersecurity. Vulnerabilities have been identified and vulnerability disclosure programs have been developed. A novel training curriculum for our space operators is being established as we speak. Software and hardware developers in this sector are beginning to evaluate security in an entirely new way. And most recently, the U.S. Justice Department announced it will not bring charges under federal hacking laws against security researchers who act in good faith.
Let's face it, our world is entangled by complicated technology, and opening up is scary. But losing access to space cannot happen. And sustaining our interconnected way of life is critical. We have a global imperative on our hands, one that every cell phone using, traveling, bank leveraging human on planet Earth will be impacted by satellite security.
Through crowdsourced problem solving and an increasing tolerance to openness, there is now a global alliance that aims to tackle this challenge, and it starts with Hackassat.
Thank you.